Hello, everybody. I'm social meteorologist Bob Clubs here with all the latest on Winter Storm Freeze for you. It's Friday evening and it's about 10:45 p.m. Just want to give you all the latest and thank you for your support on the page. Thank you for those likes, comments, and shares. You are helping to grow the page enormously and I really appreciate it. Remember those likes, comments, and shares. Those are the tips that I work for, so be generous and keep them coming. Well, let's take a look at what we've got. First of all, Winter Storm Freeze is bringing quite a swath of watches from the National Weather Service offices. As you can see here, about a third of Missouri, about three-quarters of Illinois, all of Indiana, all covered with these winter storm watches from Winter Storm Freeze. Now, it's interesting to me that none of the National Weather Service offices have gone ahead and upgraded any of those to warnings just yet. I bet that we're going to begin to see that perhaps as early as tomorrow morning as some more model guidance comes in and this storm gets just a little bit closer. They're going to need to upgrade some of those to warnings, maybe even down here in the Cape Jackson area. Well, let's take a look at the development of this storm and the timing of it as we go through here. Let me just advance this just a little bit and we'll begin to watch Winter Storm Freeze coming down, bringing that Arctic air again. We've been looking at this for a few days now. Arctic air straight down from the North Pole directly to you here in southeast Missouri and forming up this line of snow, this big line of snow here that's coming down. Now, the big question remains this battle between the green and the blue as Winter Storm Freeze comes into play. And this is where there is still some disagreement among the models, and different forecasters are dealing with this in different ways. There is still some uncertainty about how much rain we are going to see in the front of this storm and how long that's happening. And this is largely because we are going to warm up just a little bit because the low pressure is going to be pulling up some warmer air, some moister air. That's what's giving this storm all this moisture to work with, is it's pulling some air up from the south, bringing that moisture with it. But it's also bringing warmer air to mix into the system. We also need to see how powerful the low pressure ends up being. The stronger it is, the more warm air it's going to be able to pull up into the system, keeping it warmer longer. And so this is another reason why perhaps we're holding off a little bit on advancing some of these winter storm warnings from the National Weather Service offices because there's still a little bit of uncertainty about that. But as you can see, everybody changes over to snow eventually. The timing for this here in Cape and Jackson is that we'll probably be seeing some rain by late Saturday night and switching over to some snow in the early morning hours just after midnight on Sunday. It stays with us through the afternoon on Sunday, so most of us are probably going to wake up to some snow on Sunday morning and wait that snow out then the rest of Sunday morning on into Sunday afternoon. Those of you that are responsible for making decisions about church services on Sunday mornings, you guys are going to want to make sure that you have a plan in place about that and know how to deal with those because a lot of churches are probably going to have to call off on Sunday morning services. How much snow, Bob? How much snow? Social meteorologist Bob Clubs. How much snow are we going to see with this system? Well, that's the big question, isn't it, friends? So let's begin to answer that question. First of all, we'll take a look at the probabilities for an inch of accumulation. Well, that's probably going to happen. This particular model says an 80 to 90% chance. I'm going to go ahead and tell you it's 100% chance. You're going to see an inch of snow here in Cape and Jackson. 2 inches of snow, let's take a look at that. 2 inches of snow, probabilities for Cape and Jackson 80 to 90% again. Let's take a look at 4 inches of accumulation and scoot it back over here to the time that I want to use. 4 inches, I said, Mr. Model. 4 inches accumulation in Cape and Jackson. We are at a 60 to 70% chance of that. Oh, my computer is just not getting along with me tonight at all. Moving it up to 6-inch accumulation. Cape Jackson, 40 to 50% chance. of accumulating over 6 inches. St. Louis, 60 to 70% chance of accumulating over 6 inches. You can also move that up to accumulating over 8 inches, and even accumulating over a foot of snow, even though that probability on this model is only 1 to 5%. There are some forecasters out there that are willing to go ahead and talk about, though, how they expect there to be some bands of a foot of snow in some areas. Some people are being very aggressive up here around the St. Louis area, for example, and wanting to dump a lot more snow in the St. Louis area with their forecasts. If I had to commit to a snow total amount accumulation here in Jackson, I would say 7 inches is probably the best guess I can give you right now in terms of snow accumulations here in Jackson. Some of the television forecasters I've noticed are playing this one very conservatively versus what some of these models are showing. And I think that that's just because it's always easier to up your totals once the storm gets a little bit closer than it is to get everybody all hyped up and then dial that back. So the thing to watch for tomorrow, the thing I'm going to be checking when I wake up, is to see what the National Weather Service is doing in terms of upgrading these winter storm watches to warnings. They will have a better idea. Maybe those models will come into agreement, because that's really the thing that's not happening with this. Is there are about 3 different major model systems that they look at, and there's just enough disagreement among these models that are making forecasters just hold back just a little bit. And a lot of it has to do, like I said, with that rain line, and also how much moisture the low pressure is able to pull into the storm. Those are some things that are still question marks. But I'm going to be here, and I'm going to be watching it all throughout the weekend for you. But I just want to close by again reminding you that we are used to being bent out of shape about snow totals, and that's certainly a big deal. But with this one, the bigger story continues to be, I think, the fact that it is going to be so cold. Um, that's the thing that really caught my attention about this storm a couple of days ago, is when the National Weather Service was using the word insane to describe the cold air. People are throwing around historic and brutal and deadly and damaging and life-threatening, and these are all true. And these are things that we have to consider. We have to consider the fact that if you are driving in this, if you're trying to drive in this for whatever reason, and you slip off of the road, what happens then? If you are going to make the choice to get out in this, make the choice to prepare for what could go wrong as well. It is a potentially deadly situation. I know that we all like to pretend that we're tough and if it's 0 degrees and you are in a half a foot of snow, what if, you know, YOLO, as they say. But if you only live once, and maybe not going to last very long if you're in 0 degrees. Anyway, just be smart, be prepared. Don't travel if you don't have to on Sunday, and Monday may not be that much better. But we'll keep an eye on it. We're going to keep information coming your way. We strive to be your one-stop source for weather information on your Facebook feed, ladies and gentlemen. We try to balance it out with serious information, the information that you need, but we keep the funny side on there too, don't we? We like to talk about how we're freaking out and whatnot. But we'll be watching it. Keep on sending us your questions, your comments, and then as the storm happens, your observations and your photos. I'll be counting on those as we keep one another updated here. Thanks again for all of your participation in the site, the likes, the comments, the shares. I appreciate that, and I hope that you'll keep that up, because that's keeping the page growing, and I really appreciate that. It keeps this fun for me. So thanks very much for watching. I'm social meteorologist Bob Clubbs, watching the weather so you don't have to.